where there's no guaranteed rainfall. So this motion, Mr. Speaker, let's not look at the mover, let's not look at the seconder, but let's look at the food security of this nation. And there is no harm in having the committee highlighting this one component and the motion, which was right-free, admitted by office. And we commend you for that, because we are equally as concerned as every other citizen about the food security and the rising cost of our food in this country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, thank you. I've been given a list by the Chief Government Whip. So the Honorable Member for Mwembeshi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very reluctant even to debate this motion because, as it were, this is an issue which was discussed. Mr. Speaker, you will note that some motions as they are coming, they are actually political, just to make some political gain on the floor of the House. And therefore, I'm saying that, Mr. Speaker, research is very important. When you go to journals, see what you have been doing throughout the week. See if you are supposed to debate or not. As it were, Mr. Speaker, this motion, in as much as we support the report from agriculture that we should increase, we don't accept the motion coming in such a manner, because this motion is just there to politic. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I end here. I don't want to entangle myself with people who do not do a proper research. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Rumezi.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you most sincerely. Mr. Speaker, it is quite alarming that your members, both on your right and your left, seem to agree to something that they should have simply said, we agree to the motion. It is saddening that one member on your left took a position not to agree to the motion. Mr. Speaker, it is quite alarming that we're asking our people in our rural areas that instead of farmers being given fertilizer loans as a result of the drought, instead we increase the number of the beneficiaries. Mr. Speaker, we cannot pretend. Individually, when we're in the village, we tell people no. When we go to Lusaka, we tell the government that they should increase the beneficiaries of FISIP and not loans. It is a culture. Whether we agree that giving of FISIP is a good or bad culture is a topic for another day. But speaking to the realities is that we are asking our farmers that in Parliament we shall tell the Minister of Agriculture to increase the number of beneficiaries. The loans, Mr. Speaker, the situation we're in right now is that people are going to fail to pay back. Honorable Mr. Speaker, before we went on CNDA, this House was fully packed when officials from the Ministry of Agriculture came. Why members came was a concern over this issue. Today, we are entertaining thoughts of not increasing. Others are agreeing. They're speaking to a report. Let's agree that they're agreeing to a report that has nothing to do with the motion. And Honorable Mr. Speaker, a motion was brought to your office for approval 3-4 months ago. You didn't know that a report is coming in good time, but other members are speaking to something of recent occurrence and not to the motion. The motion is simply saying, can we agree to increase? Where is the problem in us increasing a farmer in Lwangeni? Where is the problem in us saying we increase the beneficiary farmer in Chipata Central? I would have had a problem if the move of the motion was from Munkana, where they do a lot of illegal mining, than farming. Now, the mover of this motion knows what farmers are going through. And then here, we are attempting to trivialize this matter. Honorable Mr. Speaker, there was no harm. We agree? Yes. We don't agree. Posterity will judge us, especially with what is obtaining now. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, I spoke firmly to the issues of drought. If we are not careful, the people that have acquired loans after giving them fertilizer will not be in a position to pay back those loans, and then us on your left, Mr. Speaker, will say it's them. We'll point at them. When genuinely speaking, it's beyond them. How can they control drought? They're just as human as me. Sometimes we should agree as a people to say, can we be honest? The drought is a problem. A drought can lead to a revolution. Mr. Speaker, this matter needs the attention of this House. If the ministry agrees, I see no reason why we should debate. It's simple. Yes, we increase or no. But what will he tell his voters in the constituents? That I refuse to increase the number of beneficiaries. First of all, the money is not coming from his individual pocket. It is a taxpayer's money. So where is the problem? Mr. Speaker, yesterday, as we were discussing, and unfortunately point of orders were not allowed, that would have been a good reason for him to be protected. Yet, in here, we received messages that ZNS Midmeal has been stolen, GMO. Surely, if you can steal from people with guns,
Point of order.
what more?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Citizens that are not
There's a
armed.
point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm listening very attentively and respectfully to the debate by Honorable for Lumezi. But is it in order, Mr. Speaker, to be pointing at me and referring at me as him and continue debating in that manner when we are supposed to be looking at a national issue here? Is it in order, Mr. Speaker, to be rather disrespectful? Through you, Mr. Speaker, I find this offensive.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I should register my displeasure in the manner this House is conducting its business lately. Even when I was in Kenya, I was watching over some members that were ranting as they are walking out of the House. I think as honorable members, we can do better. We all know that it's not even necessary to point at each other and later on demean each other. So the honorable member for Lumezi was completely out of order. And we are brothers and sisters in here. Even as we address national issues, let's ensure that we maintain decorum of the House. If we do like that, if we go in that manner, we lose nothing, we gain more. Even if we want to score politically, that does not require demeaning each other. We are Africans as much as we are politicians. So let's ensure that we respect each other. May the honorable member continue.
Honorable Minister of Agriculture, if I've offended you with my submissions, I genuinely apologize from the best part of my heart. This matter is a concern of the people of Zambia, myself, yourself, and everyone else. I just didn't know that being sincere is offensive. Mr. Speaker, wholeheartedly, I'm failing to have a borehole at my house because of drought. It's a serious issue. This power that we possess is temporal. I wouldn't wish them to be blamed over a natural calamity. I can play politics. My debates yesterday and today are not speaking to politics. They're speaking to calamity's reality. Mr. Speaker, I'm on the side of where those that thought will be in power in perpetuity are in problems every day. This power is temporal. I wouldn't wish them to lose the authority they have based on a natural calamity. Let them fail as human beings. We are human. I'm also a failure. I've failed several times. But I raise up. But when God's calam comes, it's beyond me and any of the members here, Mr. Speaker. So, my submission to your motion, Mr. Speaker, is very basic. I adopt the submissions of my former lecturer, Honorable Cornelius Mwetwa, who has said it is an agreed position that we are going to increase the number of the beneficiaries. Mr. Speaker, with no politics attached to this matter, as I go for Nchwala, I support the mover of this motion. Mr. Speaker,
point of order.
I thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I've been seated here listening to my honorable colleague debate, but I'm surprised. The motion that we are debating is talking about increasing the number of bags of fertilizer from 6 to 8. But he's been constantly talking about increasing the number of beneficiaries. So is he in order to mislead this House and the people of Zambia and himself that the motion is about increasing the number of beneficiaries and not the number of bags of fertilizer? I seek your serious ruling, Mr. Speaker.
I think the honorable member I got that one, but I don't know how I forgot to guide him, because the motion was talking about increasing the number of packs. It never spoke about increasing the number of beneficiaries. So the honorable member of Lumezi is completely out of order for misleading himself and the people of Lumezi. May the honorable member for Kafinsa is not around. The honorable member for Kawambwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand here to support this motion. Just like all the speakers who have spoken, I have not heard a single one who has opposed to this motion. Because even the first speaker on the right, the Honorable Minister for Information, was not in conflict with this particular report. He was just buttressing the fact that it is important that this report which has come on the floor of the House is talking to the earlier report which was given by the Committee on Agriculture, which was tabled last week. The very fact, Mr. Speaker, that your office, the office of the Speaker, elected to admit this particular motion, it points to the fact that the office of the Speaker is cognizant of the fact that this is a very important issue which we must delve in, which we must speak to. Yes, the motion looks innocent. The motion speaks to the issue of increasing the fees packs per beneficiary. But there are other underlying currents within that particular motion. Why this motion? Why increase? What will it cure if we increase the number of bags or packs per beneficiary? And why should we be speaking about these things? Yesterday, the other day, Mr. Speaker, you need to connect the dots. Last week, indeed, the Committee on Agriculture tabled a report. It spoke to one thing. Then we had a ministerial statement by the Minister of Green Economy. That's another dot. Then we had a ministerial statement by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
That's another dot. Then today, in fact, even before we go to that, there was another report yesterday which was talking to the audit report on our water resource. And today we have this motion. These are 5 different dots. Mr. Speaker, if you look through these dots critically, they are speaking to the same thing. They are speaking to the fact that as a country can do better in food production. And that food production will not come by chance, but it will come if we harness our resources. If we harness our water resources, if we do better farming practices, but we can do all those things. What will happen if we don't increase the participation of our small-scale farmers in the agricultural sector? Mr. Speaker, the last 2 seasons, we have seen what has happened in some of our constituencies, where the number of food packs or seed packs have been reduced and the number of beneficiaries still remains the same. It has ended up with some of our people sharing the FISIP packs in small buckets, commonly referred to as medas. And we saw those pictures. Last season, the other season, it was so rampant. And last year, it was the same. So what will this cure if we increase the number of beneficiaries or the number of packs? It means that the number of inputs out there will be more, implying that we are going to have more beneficiaries, meaning that we are also going to have greater food production. Given in background of what is happening this year, we are all very sure that some regions of this country are not going to have the same production that they anticipated. So it calls for quick action. Honorable colleagues, honorable ministers, the honorable vice president, the leader of government business in the House, as Honorable Kampyongo stated, it means that we need to talk about these things now. We need to amplify our activities and actions now. Because within the next 2 to 3 months, if we do not plan for this so that we can cure the problem that we have at hand, we may not be able to recover in the coming farming season, even if we have adequate rains. It is time we started talking to the Honorable Minister of Finance, to Honorable Msokotwane, what can we do to ensure that we cure this problem? One of the reasons we are talking about increasing the number of food packs or FISIP packs is because we are going to have more people participating. But we know very well, Honorable Mr. Speaker, that these FISIP packs do not grow on trees. These FISIP packs cost money. And to get that money, we must start thinking about it now. We must think through our programs as a nation. Where can we cut a little bit of money from our expenses so that we can apply a bit more resources into the area of FISIP and input procurement? This is what we are talking about here. It is not just increasing. It is also thinking through as to where we must find money. This is for the sake of our people out there who have got no other means of improving their livelihoods other than cultivating the land, other than tilling the land. This, Mr. Speaker, is what we're talking about. We are going to continue emphasizing this point that we need to move in this direction for the sake of our country, for the sake of our rural farmers, for the sake of Zambia, and for the sake of our people. Lo and behold, Mr. Speaker, how good it becomes when we have bumper harvests. We are able to export. Yesterday, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture the other day was informing this House that they have actually stopped the export. Why have they stopped the exports? Because we do not sufficient. Do you know what would have happened if we had continued the exports? We are going to have more forex coming into the economy and it was going to support the kwacha. So this is where it all starts from. Improving the economy does not start from having enough dollars in the bank. It starts from prudent planning, starting from somewhere, and starting by this thinking, which the honorable member of Petauke has brought to the table, that let's start thinking about increasing. For me, I want to speak for the people of Kawambwa. They would like to have increased FISIP imports. For the people of Chasefu, they would like to have. And I also want to speak for the good people of that constituency in Eastern Province, Mr. Speaker. You know the constituency I'm talking about. I want to speak for the people of Lwangeni. I'm standing here for the people of Lwangeni because they called me that they want an increment. I also speak for the people of Choma. I also speak for the people of Mazabuka and Dundumwezi. When I was in the other committee, the member for Dundumwezi asked me to speak for him. So I'm speaking for the rest of the country. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture will respond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me some time to respond to the motion which is on discussion on the floor of the House. Let me give government position. Mr. Speaker, FISIP commenced way in 2002, and it is a 100% subsidy program to the farming community in Zambia. When FISIP started, we had figures as low as 120,000 farmers, and the government was distributing about 48,000 metric tons of fertilizer. As we speak, the figures rose from 48,000 to 1,024,434 farmers. I want to repeat that. We have moved from 120,000 farmers to 1,024,434. And we have moved from releasing 48,000 metric tons of fertilizer to 241,000 metric tons. We have actually brought down the figure a little bit. The most important here, Mr. Speaker, is that this program, the FISIP program, gobbles more than 200 million US dollars every single year. Sunken cost. We put it in there and it goes. The government does not recover anything. Not less than 200 million US dollars. This is a country, Mr. Speaker, which is in heavy, heavy debt. This is a country, Mr. Speaker, which has negotiated serious negotiations for debt, which we have incurred over a long period of time because of allowing programs such as we are discussing this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, we are now negotiating to move from paying 750 million US dollars to 75 million US dollars. We must be saying, how did we attain that very dangerous status, which was actually labeling our country as a gutter economy, an economy you cannot talk about? It is because of reckless decisions, decisions which are made to please the masses at the expense of a country, almost ruining a country to stand still. It is on accounts like those, Mr. Speaker, that we are saying, let us be innovative in the manner we manage our economy. The content, Mr. Speaker, of the motion, the content of the motion is appreciated, just like the content that came in the report from the committee. It is appreciated. But, Mr. Speaker, it is misplaced. It is absolutely misplaced. Given that position, therefore, I wish not to be misunderstood. I don't wish that what we are discussing here should be used for political expediency, but should be used, as we discuss here, as leaders responsible for this country. As government, therefore, I wish to state that we do not support this motion because it is absolutely misplaced. It is meant to throw the government deeper and deeper into debt, which debt we're supposed to be coming out from. Mr. Speaker, if I was standing here and speaking just to say we are going to maintain the figures as they are, I would be in error. But we have come with an innovative support to our decision, and that is the credit window. Mr. Speaker, the credit window is going to offer our farmers agricultural loans at 12% interest. 12% interest. And we are facilitating this through the banks so that we can run away from the ailments, from the sickness that have been accumulating over a long period of time in the FISIP arrangement. We are doing it through banks. And the banks will talk to the farmers to see that a particular farmer has a field, and the bank will encourage the farmer to pay back. We should not, Mr. Speaker, threaten our farmers that because of the drought, the banks are going to go like monsters and get farms from people. This debate, Mr. Speaker, started from irresponsible people who were going around in our districts and provinces telling farmers that you see what this government is doing, it is abolishing FISIP and it is bringing loans and it is meant to get assets from you. Highly irresponsible. The conditions on FISIP, Mr. Speaker, are exactly the same as on FISIP. Therefore, we should be able to be telling our farming community the truth. May I therefore encourage the honorable members, my fellow honorable members of parliament, to consider options which are more viable, options which are more economic, options which will move this country from where it is to a higher standard, other than looking at subsidy programs which over a period of time have been abused, and abused by those who are able for their own personal benefit. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, so that I leave no doubt at all, the government does not support this program because it is misplaced. The motion is misplaced. And on that account, Mr. Speaker, we as government do not support it. I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Petauke Central to wind up debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up this motion, I'm sure the people of Rwangeni, the people of Wichipata Central, the people of Wengwa, the people of Choma, the people of Lumezi, the people of Petauke Central are crying right now, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these farmers, they expected that this time around, that's when the leaders who they voted for, they are going to stand to their side. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these people, most of our farmers in Rwangeni, they are not educated and they depend on farming. Farming is the thing which they put anything, even food on their table, Mr. Speaker. But today, they have been betrayed. Mr. Speaker, the people of Rwangeni, they follow parliament every day. And they know to say the people we voted for, they're going to stand on our side. And the people we voted for, but they're always seeing the people they voted for, if they only hear we are discussing the things which favor them, they are always fast to approve. But for the poor farmers, we are rejecting the numbers. And today we have seen to say it's a shame that the president is not in this house, because the people who the president president appointed, and the people who are expected to be the same side with the president, they're the same people who are supposed to approve the motion and the agenda of the president, because this is one of the agenda of the president of increasing the number of bags per pack
There's a
from
point of order.
6 to
Honorable Member
8,
for Petauke
Mr.
Central,
Speaker.
there's a point of order. What's the point of order?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I'm troubled to understand the honorable member on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, is the honorable member in order to insinuate that the community or the people of Ruangeni are not educated without laying the facts on the floor of this House? I seek your serious ruling. Thank you.
The honorable member, thank you, honorable member. I think as you debate, honorable member for Petauke, be factual. If the members of Petauke Central are not educated, people from Ruangeni are educated. They are very educated. As the only representative of the Ngoni people, I know people in Ruangeni are very educated. So the honorable member is not in order to say that the people of Ruangeni are not educated. That was on the lighter note. You may continue, honorable member.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know to say some other members like the good people of Pemba, they've never heard of the voice of their representative. But this is the only opportunity to raise the point of order instead of indicating so that he can support the motion, to support the farmers in Pemba. But I'm sure they know what representative they have today, the people of Pemba. They should know in 2026 the people to vote for, who can represent them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, even Kanyama people are crying, Mr. Kanyama. The representative,
honorable member for Petauke. Order, honorable member for Petauke. Order, honorable Chisanga. No, order, honorable member for Petauke. You know we don't debate ourselves. I don't know why you bring honorable members in the context of your debate. May you continue, honorable member?
Mr. Speaker, thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. But if it was the people of Petauke or the people of Rumezi calling members down here, you are going to chase them out the way you have chased the people of Nkana. He has been chased. But here, it shows to say it's Mofa. A member is just from calling a member of parliament to say you're down, but a presiding officer just say, a member, can you continue? What kind of democracy are we in, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, what are we portraying to the people? Who is a member can't even be demanded to say, can you withdraw to call a member down? But you are saying that it should go ahead?
Honorable,
which parliament is this, Mr. Speaker?
Order, may you take your seat, honorable member? If you heard otherwise, I couldn't hear from here, you should have raised the point of order as you are trying to insinuate. Because my ears are not as big as an elephant that I can get each and every sound. No. You should have raised the point of order. There's a procedure in this House. May the honorable member take your seat. There's a procedure in which we conduct business. May the honorable member continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I can only say I forgive Those people who are calling other members on your left to say they are down, I'm sure them they are the dowest, Mr. Speaker. But we forgive them. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude this motion, Mr. Speaker, this motion, Mr. Speaker, was brought here last year before even the committee came, brought the report. And I'm sure even the committee, they utilized the research of the mover of this motion. Because the move of this motion comes from Petauke, where 95% of the farmers, 95% of the people in Petauke are farmers. But I know there are some people who will be raising point of order just to disturb us, but we don't care. If they can continue. Mr. Speaker, I can assure to you to say the people of Petauke, they moved this motion to support the president, as he said, to say he's going to increase, once he's in office, he's going to increase the number of bags of fertilizer from 6 to 8. And
Order. Your time is up,
thank you,
Honorable
Mr.
Member.
Speaker, and I expected everyone to support the president.
I put the question. The question is that this House urges government to increase the quantity of fertilizer for farmers under the Farmers Input Support Program. As many of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, say no. The noes have it. The question is in the negative. Notice of motion, the Honourable Member for Kaoma Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this House do adopt the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the report of the Auditor General on the rehabilitation and the reintegration of prisoners in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on 12th December 2023.
Is the motion seconded?
The motion is seconded, Mr. Speaker.
Seconded by the Honourable Member for Kasama Central. The question is that this House do adopt the report of Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the report of the Auditor General on the rehabilitation and reintegration of prisons in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 12th December 2023. Any debate? The Honourable Member for Kaoma Central.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to its terms of reference as set out under Standing Order number 197, in brackets kilo, the committee considered the report of the Auditor General of the on the rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners in Zambia. Mr. Speaker, in considering the audit report, the committee invited various stakeholders to present both oral and written submissions. I would like to believe that the honorable members in this House have had an opportunity to read the report. I will therefore only highlight a few of the salient points contained in the report. Mr. Speaker, the committee observes with great concern the absence of a national policy to guide the operations of the Zambia Correctional Service in the rehabilitation and the reintegration of prisoners in our country. Mr. Speaker, the committee further observes with concern the lack of programs for rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners in the strategic plan for the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security. The committee, therefore, strongly recommends that the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security should, as a matter of urgency, put in place a policy that will cater for the integration and rehabilitation of prisoners in the country and put in place a strategic plan that will include programs to support the rehabilitation and reintegration of these prisoners. The committee is also concerned about the low number of offender management officers, counselors, and chaplains who are supposed to offer counseling services to prisoners. The counseling offered by these officers is a vital tool in the rehabilitation and the reintegration of prisoners into society. In some instances, chaplains are also required to perform duties that should be performed by other officers due to the inadequate number of staff. In view of this, the committee urges the government to employ and deploy more of these three categories of staff. Related to this, Mr. Speaker, the government should finalize the review of the correctional service organizational structure that will create more employment positions for various specific duties, such as those mentioned above. The committee has observed with great concern the lack of coordination between the Ministry of Home Affairs and the International Security and other ministries, such as the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Youth, Sport and Arts, and the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services. These are the ministries which are supposed to play various critical roles in the rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners in the country. The committee notes that the lack of coordination is negatively affecting the rehabilitation and the reintegration of the prisoners in our country. Therefore, we strongly recommend that the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Home Affairs and the International Security should coordinate to ensure that the employment and the deployment of teachers to correctional service facilities is prioritized. Additionally, the Ministry of Home Affairs and the International Security should take concrete steps to ensure that practical collaboration with the Ministries of Youth, Sport and Arts, Community Development and Social Services, and Education is achieved. Central to this collaboration, Madam Speaker, is the need, Mr. Speaker, is the need for the government to take deliberate measures to ensure that school infrastructure is availed in all correctional service facilities. As I wind up debate, Mr. Speaker, the committee is grateful to you and to the Clerk of the National Assembly for the guidance and support rendered to it during the consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners in the country. The committee is also indebted to all the witnesses who appeared before it for the cooperation in providing the necessary memoranda that informed the committee's recommendations in the report. With these few words, I urge all members to support the report of the committee as it is well intended. I beg to move.
Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kasama Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second that the House do adopt the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the report of the Auditor General on the rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, in seconding this motion, allow me to make a few comments. Mr. Speaker, the process has prolonged for the new parole rules to be put in place, and this is negatively affecting the effective administration of parole. According to the Penal Code, Amendment number 23 of 2022, and the Criminal Procedure Code, Amendment Act number 22 of 2023, all persons once convicted are supposed to be serving custodial sentences, and there is no provision for non-custodial sentences or community service on lesser or minor offenses. Mr. Speaker, in this regard, there is need for the following. the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security should develop and operationalize the parole rules in order to address the problem of congestion in the correctional services facility. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Justice should take steps to amend the existing pieces of legislation so that issues of non-custodial sentences and community service are included in the law. This will enable persons who have committed misdemeanor offenses to be given a non-custodial sentence or community service. Mr. Speaker, another issue of concern is the level of hostility which the prisoners continue to experience from some community members who have not come into terms with the release from correctional facilities after serving their sentences. These hostile experiences are hindering the process of reintegration. Mr. Speaker, another matter is the eligibility issue, which is in regards to employment of ex-prisoners. It is not clear which offenses can inhibit an ex-prisoner from being offered employment either in public or private institutions. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security should heighten community sensitization programs on the need to embrace ex-prisoners and regard them as equally important members of the community. Sensitization can promote a shift towards restorative justice principles and community involvement in the reintegration process. Sensitization can also lead to increased acceptance and opportunities for ex-prisoners to build their lives. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, in collaboration with the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security, should review the policy in order to take into consideration which ex-prisoners are eligible or not eligible for employment in public or private institutions. Efforts to empower ex-prisoners takes positive steps towards rehabilitation and self-improvement, ultimately contributing to their successful integration into society. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Thank you. The Honorable Member from Mbabala.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the able reports moved by Honorable General Stwara and seconded by Honorable Swangere from Kasama Central. As the people of Mbabara, we definitely support the report, especially focusing on the issue of reintegration into society for ex-prisoners. This is an area that is important to the profession of social workers because ex-prisoners needed to have undergone quality rehabilitation and counseling whilst in prison in order for them to fit into their society, into the society. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage the Zambia Prison Service to strengthen its social workforce, which is crucial to the counseling and rehabilitation of these prisoners. Social work is a helping profession, but we find that the number of social workers who are employed by the Prison Service Commission is not enough in all our prisons in order to prepare these people for quality integration leading up to parole, where parole services are available for those who have qualified. So therefore, my emphasis is on having a lot of social workers in every prison so that they can do a quality job that will help change the mindset. Because what we are changing when we change it to a correctional facility is to ensure that people who come out of there come out as good citizens good husbands, good wives, as well as with other skills that they can use for them even to go into the employment market. Indeed, I think they may not be employed in the public service where the report is asking for a review of that policy. However, if we strengthen the skills aspect, the ex-prisoners would come out with the quite skills, including businesses that they can run and be able to run with and support their families. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this report is able before us, and we wish to support it to ensure that it answers to some of the challenges that the country is facing. As a country, we are facing a lot of ex-prisoners going back or reoffending. Most of them do reoffend, and the reoffending is also due to the quality of services that we are offering in the prisons. Thanks to the new Dawn government, that the conditions in the prisons have been improved, and those who are going in now, like these corrupt cases who are going in now, are going to at least find bunker beds, blankets, and all the quality facilities that were missing in the prisons. This is a good measure, which is part of the rehabilitation, because the physical environment of the prisons has been improved, as well as the quality of life in the prisons has been improved. Therefore, we need to continue on that trajectory. We have improved the physical environment, we have improved the quality. Of course, we need more prisons for us to reduce on the congestion, but we need to have more counselors. We have the counseling profession, which is also part of the social work profession, which we need to also embrace in ensuring that we are doing a good job in this area, including ensuring that we've got services in our prisons for persons with disabilities who may not fit in the ordinary prisons that we have currently. We need to take care of that aspect, and I'm glad that the Child Code Act is already impacted on some of these aspects, and we do hope that we can continue on that trajectory. Mr. Speaker, with these remarks, I emphasize and support the report and emphasize on the employment of social workers to do a quality job and other counseling professions in the area of rehabilitation and ensuring quality integration, including follow-up after integration in the families, to ensure that these ex-prisoners, when they are integrated with the families, they are keeping up well. The monitoring aspect needs social workers to be able to monitor on a daily basis or weekly basis, monthly basis, graduating, to see that this ex-prisoner is fitting well with the family, is fitting well with the society or the community where they are, and that's how we can remove stigma and also allow them to function properly. Without good quality social workers working in this area, will have continued challenge, because once ex-prisoners are in their families, the fit may not be there. But if we have counseling services that are going to counsel both the family and the ex-prisoner, and then monitor how they are being reintegrated, how they are doing with the family and with the community and the like, then we will be making progress as a country. And that's how we can care for our people, so much that we can get good citizens, Mr. Speaker. I thank you and I support the report. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kawambwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, I'm just wondering if I'm in order to continue or we should continue, given that the quorum has collapsed. Should we continue sitting? We do not have a quorum in the House, Mr. Speaker. Please, I need your guidance if I should proceed or not.
May you take your seat? Honorable Member, we have a quorum. Apparently, the others that have logged in virtually. I permitted some people to log in virtually, so the quorum is intact. You may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful and I'm also delighted to hear that now when you are on other business, you can log in virtually. Thank you very much for that development, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have very few words to contribute to this particular report. Mr. Speaker, I stand on firm ground as I speak to this particular report. Mr. Speaker, yes, indeed, it is true that prison conditions are still very bad, despite the fact that the PF government started some improvements, the expansion of prisons. This is not even a bad question. This is reality on the ground. There are certain facilities that the PF government started building, and there are certain programs that they started. And this is the foundation which was laid down, which the New Dawn government would do well to just continue and appreciate the work that their predecessors did. That's what it is. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand here that with the exception of probably Mwembeshi facilities and the facilities in Kabwe, the rest of the prisons across the country do not have anything to shout home about in terms of rehabilitation facilities for inmates. More often than not, most of the activities that we hear about are to do with manual labor, hard labor, and so on and so forth. Mr. Speaker, we as a nation, the saying goes that the civility of a nation is judged by how it looks after its prisoners. The civility of a nation is judged by how it looks after its prisoners. More often, those who are not in the field working, they are locked up, wasting valuable man hours and man time for developing this country. Mr. Speaker, we need to do better as a country. All of us collectively, we need to see and look at the plight of prisoners. It's no wonder that you go around the prisons, you find that 20 to 30% of prisoners are former offenders, repeat offenders, who come in and go out, go in and come out. Because when they leave the prisons, Mr. Speaker, they've got nothing to do, nowhere to start from. They suffer from rejection from their families, and when they are being sent on the last day, when they are being released, Mr. Speaker, it's a sorry sight. Some people even refuse to go home because they don't know where to go and how to go and where to go. So it is very important that this program is important. Mr. Speaker, this is the only reason, major reason, why when the Constitution was amended in 2016, we as a nation elected to do away with prison service and elected to call our facilities as correctional service, because the aim was to start rehabilitating people, trying to empower them with the skills so that once they go out there, they become useful citizens. Mr. Speaker, this point cannot be overemphasized. This point is very important, and it's real, and it sits at the core of humanity. Our prisoners deserve better. Our former prisoners or ex-convicts deserve better. We need to have programs, especially in their last month or their last 2 weeks. They need to be brought closer to those people who can help them rehabilitate. They need to be empowered. They need to be given skills while they are still in prison. Those who have skills, those who have any skills in woodwork, carpentry, bricklaying, and so on release, the best we can do for them as a nation is give them some tools for them to go and start using. Those who are good at farming, the best we can do is, as we go around doing the FISI program, as we do other empowerment programs, try and include some of these ex-convicts on some of these programs so that if they are being released during the farming period around October, November, December, they can move out of prison with some fertilizer and some other inputs. I think that's how it will do, and that's how we are going to help, and that's how we are going to reduce the number of ex-offenders, ex-prisoners, ex-inmates going back to the same old ways. So I support this particular report fully, Mr. Speaker, because I've seen this myself. I was in prison myself, so I know exactly what is going on, the treatment ex-prisoners go through, the treatment that inmates go through. Mr. Speaker, I speak this with a lot of authority because I know what is pertaining and what is happening on the ground. With those very, very few remarks, unbelievably few, I support the motion.
Thank you. I think it's time for gender. The Honourable Member for Lundazi Central.
Mr. Speaker, the people of Lundazi are so grateful for this chance to add on this very important report which has come on the floor of the House timely. I would want to appreciate the mover and also the seconder, and I just want to say that prison is a place where we have nurses, we have doctors, we've had presidents there. And if it's for politicians, if you miss prison, in the case of Zambia, you may not even become president of the Republic of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, in supporting the report, I'd want to state that coming from Eastern Province, Lundazi in particular, our prison is very, very small. And yet we have Chama, we have Chasefu, we have Lumezi, all those areas, all the offenders are being put in one particular room, and there are more than 500 in a room which is supposed to cater only for 100 prisoners. Mr. Speaker, the pain of being in prison, the anguish, the stress, the agony. Some of the prisoners, they are divorced whilst they are serving the sentences. They hear quite a lot of issues. Some of the prisoners lose their children. Some of them lose their parents whilst they are serving a sentence. And some of them, they even lose their properties whilst they are serving sentences. To that effect, the issue of counseling, the issue of serious psychological engagement with the people whilst they are serving a sentence is a matter which is really needed. And if we can have psychologists in prisons, we can have people who come out and become employers. Today we have one good testimony of Mohan, who is doing very well in Kabwe, and he's even offering employment. But it is because of family support. I know the mother used to take breakfast, lunch, and supper every day to that prison because I met her at once. What is important, if you have support, apart from the family, the people around you during that time, and also if the government can come in to offer psychological counseling whilst the people are in prison, it can be very helpful. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, when we take the report from the Gender Committee, you'll find that most of the people and most of the HIV infections are coming from prisons. I'm speaking to the fact, the reports which are there today, you see that in prisons there is sodomy and a lot of other sexual activities which are taking place in prisons. There is need, Mr. Speaker, for the Zambian government to take keen interest in what is obtaining in those small spaces where we are supposed, or they are supposed, to take the people for rehabilitation. Counseling helps an individual to come out and be able to face the world again. When you read some of the stories or hear some of the stories of the prisoners. There are people who have served sentences which they never committed due to just failing to have a lawyer. And there are people who are in jail even today who are serving sentences because they never had someone to sign bail for them. Mr. Speaker, it is important that those who serve sentences should be given a chance to be counseled, educated. Their life should continue as they are doing that, so that they do not become second offenders or third offenders. For me, even the exchange where prisoners who have been taken outside the country can be able to come back so that they can continue serving their sentences here in their country would be something that can help them to heal psychologically. Mr. Speaker, the people of Lundazi are so grateful that such a report can be brought to the House, and we are in total support of this report and say, let us do more for our prisoners. I submit, Mr.
Order.
Speaker.
As the time is 19:10 hours, I interrupt the proceedings and debate stands adjourned. Day for resumption of debate.
Tomorrow, Mr. Speaker.
Debate to resume tomorrow. Her Honor the Vice President, adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
As no notice of an item for debate on the motion of adjournment of the House has been received, I put a question. The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Has been adjourned or disrupted with the Honorable Brenda Nyurenda, Member of Parliament for Lundazi, on the floor, adding her voice to the motion that was moved by Kaoma Central Member of Parliament Morgan Sitwala, and this was to urge the House to adopt the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the report of the Auditor General on the rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 12th December 2023, and this motion was seconded by Sibongile Mwamba, Member of Parliament for Kasama Central, and we expect the motion to continue tomorrow when business resumes at 14:30 hours. So we have a look at business of the House for today, Wednesday, 21st February 2024.
So when business are resumed this afternoon, 21st February 2024, the House did consider 5 questions for oral answer, understanding Order 74. Remember, these are questions of ordinary nature, and the first question came from Mr. Sidney Mushanga, who is a Wacha constituency Member of Parliament. He did direct his question to the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock. He wanted to find out whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate deep tanks in the following wards in Wacha parliamentary constituency, Munga, Munyama, and in B, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and see whether the government has any plans to construct a deep tank in Kalima area in Kakomba ward, and D, if so, if there are no such plans, why?
And in response to this question, the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock did inform the House that the prevention and control of animal disease across the country is top on the agenda of the new Dawn administration. He said that government recognizes the importance of important role deep tanks play in controlling tick-borne diseases, and in this regard has embarked on the construction of and rehabilitation of deep tanks across the country. The minister also informed the House that government will provide technical support to the communities in Munga and Munyama wards of Bwacha parliamentary constituency to rehabilitate the deep tanks. And in the second part of the question, the minister